Would you pray with me, please? God, may the words of my mouth, the meditation of all of our hearts, no matter where we are, be pleasing and acceptable to you this day, for you are truly our rock and our Redeemer. Amen. Today, we continue this journey, my journey, I guess, reflections from my heart on grace. So we're doing this alphabet soup kind of thing. We started out with the G of grace, gratitude, and the R was last week, redemptive. Today is the A. So we're going to be looking at all-inclusive, grace as all-inclusive, God as all-inclusive, love as all-inclusive, life, relationships, the ground of our being as all-inclusive. This is especially important for us as a congregation because it's Pride Month, but not only because it's Pride Month, because we are a reconciling congregation, which means we hold as the highest value that all means all. That love, the love of God, the unconditional love of God is for all, no exceptions. And so this becomes fundamental to who we are as a people who gather as church, as a people who claim Christ, as a people who say, we have this faith that goes deeper than we ever thought we could imagine. And yet, here it is. We're reminded, as I said last week and the week before, that the whole overarching picture of this series is in this verse, my grace is sufficient for you. Power is made perfect in weakness. And so, yes, we can see a lot of weakness in the world today. We might even be able to see, or at least question, is there weakness in this whole all-inclusive kind of thinking? Might we be lessened because we include everyone? I don't think so, but I think that often our culture tends to push us into that kind of thinking. Culture tries to separate us and create norms and understandings that just shouldn't be there, that by God's standards aren't there. So one of the ways that we look at this text, and I think that this is really important, we're told from this point on, we won't recognize people by human standards. Even though we used to know Christ by human standards, this isn't how we know him now. And then it goes on to tell us about that this is all part of the new creation. But where I want to focus you right now is that we won't recognize people by human standards. How do you receive that? What does that mean for you and your understanding of being all-inclusive? You see, because we do have human standards, and we have human judgments, and we have human ways of thinking, again, that automatically cause us to think about creating boundaries instead of bridges, about creating ways of separation instead of bringing people together. And yet this notion of human standards being, we don't get to do this anymore, I think is crucial to us. Not only for us as a congregation, but I truly believe it's crucial for us as a species. It is time for the world, beginning with me, and hopefully expanding to you and all whom you know, for us to understand that this judgment piece that we have as a part of us, where we want to create separation, is not something we can do or should do as a follower of Christ. Now, I'm going to go back to verse 13. If we are crazy, it's for God's sake. And if we are rational, it's for God's sake. The love of Christ controls us. Really? Does the love of Christ control you? Does it control that love? Does it control your way of seeing others with human standards that says divide and separate instead of welcome and include? Does it include letting go of all of the preconceived notions we may have about somebody? And you can make this list as long as you want. Somebody with blue hair, or extra long fingernails, or darker skin, or different shaped face or eyes, or the clothes that they wear, or the address where their mail goes, or the job that they hold, or how many children they have or don't, or who they love. If we are crazy, we will understand and live with this love of Christ controlling us. What does that mean for you and your life? And I don't mean just on the surface. I mean on a deep, 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 deep level. Because, folks, this is not easy stuff. Especially today, especially in this country, especially when we think about what's going on in the world. We are taught, socialized, and oftentimes awarded and patted on the back for letting other things distract us and control us instead of the love of Christ controlling us. And so you see, this all-inclusive notion becomes paramount to who we are as believers, as followers of the Christ, all moving toward this new creation. I'd like to add a couple of verses to what was read for you earlier. Mike stopped at verse 17, and I'd like to expand where we're going with this. Verse 18 continues. All of these new things are from God. Remember, we're talking about new creation. From God, who reconciled us to himself through Christ, and who gave us, hear this word, gave us the ministry of reconciliation. In other words, God was reconciling the world to himself through Christ. God was reconciling the world to himself through Christ. This reconciliation, this coming together, this new creation is all included in this all-inclusive way of seeing grace, of understanding grace. In reconciliation, including all means we also are made one. Love controls us, not just any love, but the love of Christ controls us. So be reconciled. Go into your life, your part of the world, your corner of the world, and be reconciled and made one. Include all in your circle. I've chosen today as our little treasure a heart. It's a rainbow heart, and it says, love is love. You'll receive one. It's our symbol. We can't help but not see all of the colors of the world in the rainbow. This one has 6. There are many more. We know that. Shades and lightness and darkness. That's not the point. The point is, this symbolizes for us, all means all. Love means us. All means all. I wonder if for you, this might remind you that you might be a little crazy, and that's okay. To have your life controlled by the love of Christ, which says, love is love. May the rainbow, which reminds us of the bigness of God. May the heart, which reminds us of the fullness of God. May the love, which reminds us of all of God, be received into you and created new this day and always.